now.
Well, thank you for tuning in tonight to talk to your government. This is a live call-in show, and so don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call and ask us questions about the environment, because tonight we're going to discuss various environmental issues. But before we get started, I want to encourage you and your family to go to the Ybor Fresh Market. It's every Saturday from 9 to 3 down in Centennial Park. And it's a wonderful place to take your children. You can even take your dogs. You know, you're sort of limited to where you can take your dogs, but this place you can take your dogs. And it's great. It's great to get fresh vegetables, fruit. There are crafts people. There's one man that makes beautiful baskets and plates and all from pine needles. I mean, they are beautiful. There's someone who takes old cigar boxes and makes beautiful purses. There's somebody selling rugs. There are orchids, just all kinds of things. But I want to encourage you to go. It's every Saturday from 9 till 3 o'clock. And on November the 17th, it will be held in connection with the Cigar Fest, which again will be in Centennial Park. And then on the 24th and 25th of November, which is Saturday and Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend, it will be held in connection with the Main Street Craft Show in Ybor City. So take your family out for a bite of breakfast on Saturday morning, and you don't have to get dressed up, and it's just a nice fun thing to do. So I just wanted to put a plug for the Ybor Fresh Market. It's all volunteers. In fact, the volunteers dressed up as fruits and vegetables for the guava wing contest, and they won.
Did they?
They won first prize, which was $1,000, and it couldn't have come at a better time for the group, because it's a private nonprofit that's just on a shoestring, and so those people who dressed up like fruits and vegetables have really been a lifesaver. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that before we get started. We're really very fortunate tonight to have 3 leaders in the environmental movement in Hillsborough County, and as well as in Pinellas with the Bay. We have Suzanne Cooper. Suzanne is the Executive Director of the Agency on Bay Management. And Suzanne, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Jan.
And then we have Rick Garrity, who is our new Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Commission. How long have you had your position?
1 year and 4 months and 2 days.
You know, it doesn't seem that long.
Doesn't. Time has flown by.
I bet it seems longer to you, though.
No, actually, it's flown by. I'm having a lot of fun.
Well, that's good. And then Rick Tschantz. And
Hello.
Rick, you are the attorney for the Environmental Protection Commission.
Yes, I'm the general counsel. Rick brought me on board shortly after he joined EPC, and I'm really happy that he did.
And so you've been here over a year too now?
Yes, just over a year.
Well, and you know, the environmental issues are really going to escalate as time goes on, I believe, because we have so many people coming in our county. What is it, about 13 to 15,000 a year, and land is going to become more and more scarce, and as it becomes more and more scarce, there are going to be people who want to maybe infringe upon the environment, the wetlands areas, and things are going to get worse instead of better in our county as far as dealing with environmental issues. So that's why we are so fortunate to have such honest, upright professionals as the 3 of you in our county. Rick, what are some of the positions you've had over the years? Did you start off in the environment what did you study in college?
Biological sciences at Florida State University, and moved to Tampa Bay area in 1974 to work for a consulting group studying the effects of the Big Bend power plant, the hot water discharges, and went from there to the city of Tampa as their environmental coordinator, and from there to Department of Environmental Regulation, DER, as it was then known.
And who appointed you to that?
That was Vicki Schenkel, who was the secretary of DER way back when under the Governor Graham administration.
Mm-hmm.
And then that agency became DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, and I worked there until about 2.5 years ago. Then joined the Hillsborough County Water Resource Team, and now I'm at EPC and I'm enjoying it very much.
Well, now, when you had been with the city of Tampa, who were the mayors?
It was Mayor Poe was the first mayor I served under, and Dale Twockman, city administrator for water resources, was my immediate boss. And they were just in the throes of trying to build stormwater discharges into the bay without being harmful to mangroves along the shoreline, and dealing with problems like the old Manhattan landfill that was causing a stink, literally. So there's lots of work for me to do there.
Well, so you and I were there at the same time with the
Yes,
city.
that's right.
Because I was elected to the city council in '74, and Dale Twockman was head of the water, and Bill Poe was mayor, and let me think. How did you fit in with Dale Twockman? Were you under him or with him or what?
Yes, he hired me to work directly for him, and then I was sort of a consultant to all of his public works departments, the water department, sanitary sewers, solid waste, and it was quite a challenging position. And we had the sanitary sewer department, of course, had had finished the wastewater treatment plant, the advanced treatment plant down at Hooker's Point, and they had a wonderful group of biologists doing the bay studies, which they still have going in Tampa Bay.
That was, you know, it was Bill Poe that built that plant, that sewer plant. And I know sometimes I've heard the present mayor say he built it, but he didn't build it. It was Bill Poe. Because I remember when I was on the city council, we took the vote as to whether or not to build it. And but it's really made a difference in the bay.
Well, you can look at the charts of nitrogen concentrations in the bay and see that right after that plant came online, the concentrations went down. So it's made a dramatic difference in the bay.
And you know what's ironic about that plant is it originally did not meet Wilson Grizzle standards, which surprised me because I had been involved with the Girl Scouts, and in the building of we fought the building of a sewer pipe that was going to go out by Camp Wailani, a Girl Scout camp. And we got so much publicity about effluent that Mary Grizzle, it was from that episode that Mary Grizzle introduced the Wilson Grizzle bill that required advanced treatment of sewage. And so I was surprised to find when I got on the city council that that plant originally did not meet that standard. Right. Because, you know, I thought it did, and I seldom ask a question that I don't know the answer to, but I did that day, and so I just assumed it met those standards. And so I asked Dale Twockman, does it meet Wilson Grizzle standards? And he said no. And so I voted no on that plant because, and he was really ticked off. But ultimately they did, I guess, upgrade the plant so it met those standards.
Yes, yes, and they were actually one of the first large treatment plants in the country to achieve that. So we should be very proud of that in the Tampa Bay area.
It made a tremendous difference in Tampa Bay's, trend.
But you know, it's interesting now. The city and county are fighting over the effluent, which is ironic. But well, and Rick, how did you get interested in the environment? Being an attorney wouldn't necessarily lead you toward the environment.
No, I've been practicing for 20 years now, but it was the last 13 years that I was practicing environmental law, and I just was not really satisfied with my prosecutor career after a while, after so many years, and so I joined the Southwest Florida Water Management District in 1989, and that began my legal career with the environment. And so for 10 years I worked there in the regulation of industry development and agriculture, primarily in the stormwater issues to make sure the discharges were properly treated before they entered the waterways. And so, I really enjoyed that, and I got involved in the Tampa Bay water wars while I was there too. A lot of, it just was very satisfying to be able to do something, at least try to anyway. Pasco County was the primary source for a lot of the pumping of water, and so the wetlands were being pretty much impacted there very heavily, and also northwest Hillsborough as well. And so we had some pretty good battles there, and after my days at the Water Management District, I served a short time, doing those water wars, continuing them for Pasco before Dr. Garrity asked me to join EPC. And this has been a very satisfying job because I got to branch out from just handling the water issues into the air issues and to waste management issues. And so it was a good time in my career to be able to stay in environmental law, but then broaden my perspective. So I'm really happy with this position.
Well, that's good. And then Suzanne, you've been with the Regional Planning Council for a number of years, and you didn't originally start with the Agency on Bay Management. What was it you were doing before with the Regional Planning Council?
Right, I've been there 17 years.
Oh my word!
And it's hard to believe. But I started as a planner working on developments of regional impact, large-scale development projects. And I came to the council. We were living in Tallahassee. We were going to move to Tampa, and I looked around at who I wanted to work for. And I had heard good things about the Regional Planning Council. I went in, I said, I want to work for you. Put me to work. And it just so happened that they were about to begin looking for someone to help with the DRIs, as we call them. And so I started there, and I was in charge of DRIs for about 10 years. And then when the Agency on Bay Management staff person became, the vacancy occurred there, I was able to get back into the environmental aspects of the region.
Well, and with the developments of regional impact, you had your hands full, because I think our county has more DRIs than probably any other county in the state.
I think probably so, and it was especially crazy during the time right before growth management laws took effect. There were a lot of projects trying to be vested from the concurrency standards that were supposed to take hold.
Explain to our viewers, what is a DRI?
A DRI is what's called a large-scale development that has impacts. Originally, it was the idea was that it was projects that had impacts in more than one county, and the state set up thresholds for determining what size projects would constitute a DRI. 3,000 residential units in large counties, over 300,000 square feet of commercial development, or 400,000 square feet of office, that sort of thing, large projects that were assumed to have major impacts.
Well, and the development community has always hated them. Well, they hate just about everything that has to do with regulation, but they really do not like DRIs. In fact, they tried to eliminate them with the growth management bill this last time, didn't they?
There were some major changes that were planned.
But the good thing about the developments of regional impact is that it really made you sit down and think about impacts that go beyond your jurisdiction, and especially in our county, the developments that occur out in unincorporated Hillsborough have an impact on the city of Tampa. They have an impact on Plant City maybe, or Temple Terrace, and those other jurisdictions need to be taken into account. And that's the positive part about it, and then especially with Pinellas too.
Yes, all the cities, projects would impact other cities, and now we're seeing another wave of DRIs, and they're all in Pasco.
You and I've been doing this together for a long, long time, and it's just my view that Pasco is maybe about 15 years behind us in the growth. I mean, so many of the things that are happening up there happened to us 15 to 20 years ago. I hope they've learned from us, but I don't know that they have.
I think that they're going to have to go through some growing pains. They have been watching it, you know, Hillsborough and how Hillsborough's handled its growth, and they're trying to get their arms around it, you know, and sort of plan how they want to grow. But it's very difficult.
Well, and some of their big developments are right on our border.
Mm-hmm.
That Trinity Lakes was one. I don't know what's happening right now, but and they would have high density developments right on the Hillsborough-Pasco border, and so that's where DRI really does come into a positive aspect. But now you've had your hands full with Agency on Bay Management, which is good.
And I really enjoyed it.
And you know, the thing about Agency on Bay Management, it doesn't have any regulatory power, but it has the power to recommend. And it's always had the support of the press, which has been helpful.
And our recognition, I think, really comes from our focus on the environment. You know, we don't get into political decisions, we don't get into other arguments, we stay focused on the resource. And I think that's where our strength is.
Well, Rick, I just received in the mail this EPC update, a year in review, accomplishments and future challenges, and I was couldn't believe all these things that have just been done in 1 year. What, in your opinion, are the most important things or accomplishments that have occurred in this past year?
Well, we've made a lot of changes to our information systems, the management information systems group in the agency. I think we've instituted some vast improvements in our computer systems and email systems, and our ability to communicate amongst each other and with other agencies like DEP. So we've done a lot of work there. We've tried to streamline some of our permitting systems. We have a lot of outreach programs started with industry, where we call it partnering with the regulated sector. The concept there is that before you have to use a heavy hand as a regulatory agency, it's much better to reach out to industry and try to work with them to make sure that they understand what the regulations are, help them, work with them, educate them, and also that gives them a chance to educate us, so we're sensitive to what their needs are. And by working together, we think you can get a much better compliance rate. So we've been instilling those types of philosophies in the agency over the last year.
Well, and now you've got your hands full trying to counter a piece of legislation that's been introduced that would basically decimate the responsibilities of the EPC. Would you or Rick like to explain the implications of that bill? And the reason I think it's important for our viewers to understand the implications of the bill, there will be a public hearing of the delegation on November the 20th at the fairgrounds. The public is invited to speak, and I would encourage viewers to go to that legislative hearing and speak. It takes, let's see, regardless of how many members of the House that vote yes, if 2 senators vote no, the bill will be dead. And you know, every couple of years we have someone who introduces a bill that would just wreak havoc on your organization. And tell us what this one will do if it were passed.
The bill's author may have had the best of intentions, but what it ends up doing is complicating our enforcement process and actually causing increased work, not only for us but also for people that we regulate. It would involve hindering our ability to settle matters through consent orders, and it would, unless you abide by some very severe restrictions that are in the bill, which we think would be very unhealthy.
I think it's about time for a break. So because I want to spend some more time on this bill. So let's go ahead and take a break, and as soon as we come back, we'll discuss this bill, but in the meantime, too, think of some questions you might want to call in about. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again.
Are you a homebound senior or disabled adult? Do you live alone? Do you sometimes ask yourself, what if I suddenly became ill or fell? Would anyone even know that I needed help? ElderNet Services, a division of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, can help you. All of our free services help homebound people maintain quality of life and independence with a sense of security. Our telephone reassurance calls provide an opportunity for daily interaction by linking seniors with a friendly, caring person. For those who live alone or have no available support system, these daily calls help reduce isolation and loneliness. 24-hour information and referral is available from the Crisis Center's Hotline Services Division. We also sponsor social activities for our seniors. Our Serve Our Seniors program links teens with senior citizens, providing chore services for seniors and valuable community service credits for teens. Start receiving help from ElderNet Services today by calling 813-964-1577.
4, 3, 2.
Okay, again, this is a live call-in show, and I've just been told by my fellow panelists that I missed a call. I'm not very good about keeping up with the telephone, but I will, and so please call in if you have any questions. Rick, we were talking about the bill. Tell us now what are the implications of it?
Well, DEP.
DEP is what? Because so
Right.
many people who are watching would not know what that is.
The State Department of Environmental Protection received the ability to have it a while back from the state legislature. So if this bill purports to give that authority to EPC, but it does it in such a way that it severely limits our ability to do our job and actually makes us much less stringent than DEP is. And the outcome of that would be that our delegation from DEP would be in jeopardy, since our program would not be as stringent as DEP's.
And let's explain why that's important. And that is because over the years, we in Hillsborough County have tried, and we've been successful in getting the state to let us enforce its rules.
That's right. We're the right hand of DEP.
And that's the delegation.
Yes.
And so what you're saying is it would jeopardize, because the state is so big, and if we didn't do it here locally, we would be at the whim of the legislature, and it's got 67 counties to deal with. So we have sought that delegation, so we are sure that we've got enforcement in our county.
Right.
And so what you're saying is it would jeopardize that.
Right, and DEP would not be staffed up to take our place in Hillsborough County, because they have a large number of other counties to deal with. So resource protection in Hillsborough County would suffer greatly if that happened.
Well, and something else I saw, I guess it was in the media, that the artificial reef program would be impacted. How is that the case?
From the fine money that we collect, we use approximately 20 or 25% of that to have an artificial reef program in the bay, and some of that money is used to pay the salaries of, I think it's 1.5 staff in the agency that go out and establish the artificial reefs and take care of them. The bill would severely limit our ability to do that and probably do away with the artificial reef program. I know there's a lot of fishermen in the bay that would be very upset at that, because those are great spots for fishing.
Well, and it's ironic, it was the Agency on Bay Management that recommended that EPC initiate an artificial reef program. There were no artificial reefs in the bay maybe 15 years ago. And I don't know, were you executive director? I think it was
No.
Peter. It was because I know I was chairman of the Agency on Bay Management at the same time I was chairman of EPC. So I was recommending to EPC that we had, it was sort of interesting, two-headed monster. But we felt that it was important that there be reefs. And so how many are there now in the bay?
We've just completed our 8th reef down at near Egmont Key, and they're all very successful, and the staff works very hard at maintaining these reefs, going out and diving on them, making sure that the structure of the reef is intact, and it takes a lot of effort to do that, but I think the bay has benefited as a result of that. It's a very, very good program.
Well, it's been a very good avenue for maybe taking discarded what is it, cement structures?
Rubble, broken up sidewalks, things like that, that you put those in a certain array in the bay bottom. And any artificial substrate like that along the bay bottom, the fish will love to be attracted to that.
So that if this bill passed, then there would be no, it would limit the ability to create any new artificial reefs or maintain the ones that are there.
Yes.
And what do we mean by maintain? Having the buoys up, the little markers?
The
and all
buoys
that?
and making sure that storm damage that may alter the reefs is corrected. The fellows and gals have to dive on the reefs and make sure that their structure is intact.
And Rick, what is the limitation on the fines that this bill would impose? Because, and how would that differ from current fines that can be levied against polluters?
EPC right now, before the bill was proposed, can fine a violator up to $5,000 per day per violation.
And tell our viewers what kind of violations are we talking about?
We have air emissions that they degrade the quality of the air. We have wetland fill and dredging violations, which impact wetlands by development. We also have wastewater discharge violations, which put pollutants into the creeks and then eventually into the bay. All of those are regulated by EPC. And with our programs that we administer for DEP, we can even go up to $10,000 per day for a violation. With the bill would prevent us from applying the $10,000 per day through the DEP programs, which, as Dr. Garrity mentioned, may eliminate us from administering the programs. And it would also severely limit even EPC's current authority at the $5,000 per day, because what this bill does, this bill says that you can only fine an entity a maximum of $5,000 in any 1 year for that location. So if an entity were to have a violation that he could be fined up to $5,000, that entity would be finished for the year. So this bill, we think, would pay to pollute for some businesses that don't want to install the proper equipment, because the equipment may be much more than the fine. And what the bill also does, because of it requires $25 per pound of pollutant discharged, you know, in order to get to the $5,000. So you could have just 25 gallons of a discharge that may be per year, and then you would be fined no further. And that's probably one of the lenient fine penalty systems in the country. And it does many other things besides just that cap on the fines. As our ability to prove the violations, the burden goes much higher. And we cannot even enter into any settlement agreements unless we go and file a lawsuit against the entity, which we currently don't have to do that right now. We can merely enter into out-of-court settlements. Either that, or we must go before the county commission for every violation.
Just let me interrupt you for just a second. I think we may have a call. Hello?
Hi, Miss Platt. Rick Dixon, Bellerigo. On the desal plant, when it comes online, I have a question. How far is Dr. Garrity going to let Tampa Bay water go when they start polluting the bay? Dr. Garrity, by the way, you're doing a wonderful job. I'm just a little disappointed that you give the water team up so fast and went to where you are, but you're doing a tremendous job, sir.
He did do a wonderful job there. For our viewers who didn't know, Rick was the head of our water team before he took on this job as chair of the EPC, executive of the EPC. You want to try to answer that question?
Nice to hear from you, Mr. Dukes. I tell you, the Tampa Bay water with the desal plant, that project really, I think, received a tremendous amount of scrutiny and a lot of bay modeling to try to predict what would happen to the bay. And we, not everybody may agree with this, but we became convinced, as did DEP and I think the water team also, that the desal plant can operate and not be a hindrance or not be harmful to the bay. Now, that's not to say we don't have to keep a watchful eye on it in the future. I think we certainly do. And we will be doing that along with DEP. But for right now, the best science that we have shows that it should not be harmful to the bay.
Well, I understand your science, but Mr. Garrity, I also understand Tampa Bay water, and I'm not going to get into that, but I just want the community of Hillsborough County to be very aware. We all know that Tampa Bay waters has a very, very, but has a lot of sheep wool on them. We all know that, but I just don't want it to kill Tampa Bay. We've all seen what desal plants have done all over the world. We don't need to kill Tampa Bay. Again, Mr. Garrity, I thank you for the job you're doing. Miss Platt, you look wonderful on TV tonight.
Oh, thank you. That's
All right.
nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for calling.
All right, bye-bye.
You know, well, wait, I think we have another call, and then, hello?
Hello, Jan. Ann Uniker from Waimama.
You know, Anna, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
I am so glad to hear from you. No, I was looking through my mail today, and I saw that you are now writing a newspaper column.
Yes, ma'am. I've been doing that for a little over a year for the Observer.
Well, I didn't know that you were back up and doing that, but I'm sure glad you are, and I'm sure glad to hear from you.
Well, it's nice.
And let me just interrupt for our viewers before Anna. Anna, before you get to ask your question, let me just tell everybody about Anna. Anna has been the chairman of the Civic Association in Waimama for a number of years, and really brought that community together. She was active on the South County Roundtable, and Waimama had always felt sort of isolated, but Anna, because she's such a skilled person, was able to bring Waimama into the fold with the South County Roundtable, and really has gotten Waimama on the map. And so, Anna, it's good to hear from you. But now I'm going to let you ask your question.
Okay, well, it's nice to hear from you, and you do look nice on television.
I hope all my wrinkles don't show.
One of the things that I'm primarily interested in right now and have been working on for several years, because Waimama has been kind of shoved by the wayside, is drainage. And I know that I've been in touch with a gentleman, and we do have sufficient funds for a part of drainage that is going to start here. But it will only do a certain amount. But I know that in the environmental, we have, here in Waimama, we have I know of one place that has 3 pipes running into another pipe of the same size. And then, of course, when it rains, all of that backs up. And it takes quite some time for it to go down. And it creates a problem with a lot of weeds and stuff like this. And I'm just wondering just how much the environmental plays a part in this drainage and the effects that it leaves in the community by overflow. And I'm going to hang up and let them chew on that one.
Well, you don't have to hang up. You can wait.
That's all right. I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, good to
Bye-bye,
talk
dear.
to you, Anna. Who would like to try to tackle that?
Well, I'll try to start. And you really put your finger on one of the main sources of pollution to Tampa Bay is in stormwater runoff, and all of the various things that can enter stormwater runoff. Everything from fertilizers that we put in our yards to oils and greases on the streets coming off our automobiles. All of that is a big problem to the bay. And there's a lot of ways that, as far as flood routing, a lot of ways that the county can improve flood routing by cleaning out ditches. Jack Merriam with the county stormwater department is a good contact to give a call to for a specific problem. They're doing master drainage studies all over the county, and they could very well have their finger on the pulse of the issues down in Waimama, and Jack could be a good person to ask that question to.
Well, and there's a lake there in Waimama, too, that I'm sure Anna is concerned about.
Well, and you have to watch if you have direct discharges of stormwater pipes into lakes, that lakes are great sinks for nutrients to build up, and they can become impacted and eutrophic. That's a buildup of nutrients and algae in lakes very quickly. So you need to institute various practices to try to take the nutrients and sediments out of stormwater runoff before they get to lakes.
Suzanne, do you want to just mention the bay and the impacts that and interest the agency has had with stormwater?
Well, we have worked very hard through the estuary program and all of the partners of the Agency on Bay Management trying to improve water quality, and we all recognize that stormwater is probably the major problem in Tampa Bay. Our urbanization has just, exacerbated the problem, and our land is expensive, and it's too expensive to put in treatment ponds and easy fixes for stormwater. So we need to fix where we can, like in Waimama, in the agricultural areas and so forth, to do as much there as possible to alleviate the problems.
Commissioner, if I could add to that, and I'll steer us back to the local Bill 1 we were talking about earlier. Our Pollution Recovery Fund, which is built up by penalties received from environmental violations, we can use those funds to apply for programs that create stormwater ponds or retrofit stormwater ponds to capture the water and treat the water before it's entered into the bay. The county can apply to EPC for funds, and they have on other occasions in cooperation with SwiftMud, the Southwest Florida Water Management District, and we have approved hundreds of thousands of dollars in these kinds of programs to treat the stormwater before it does get into the bay. This bill, in reducing the fines that we're able to collect, would drastically impair our ability to do these projects. And these are good projects for all of Hillsborough County.
To be right up to date with that, in fact, our Citizens Advisory Committee just yesterday approved a number of projects that would clean up stormwater runoff, and this is money that will go from the Pollution Recovery Fund straight to the Stormwater Division of Hillsborough County to institute some of these controls.
Well, and we have a chance now with new construction to make sure that with the new construction they do it right in the first place.
Yes, our restrictions, our requirements in the past several years have been improved greatly to fix this problem, and I think the effects have shown in the Bay, haven't they, Suzanne?
I think so.
Well, but back to this bill, the Board of County Commissioners, seated as the EPC, unanimously voted to oppose the bill, and then the Board of County Commissioners, sitting as the Board of County Commissioners, also voted unanimously to oppose the bill. And Suzanne, I know that there was a presentation made before the Agency on Bay Management. What was the view of the Agency on Bay Management?
Well, at the committee meeting where it was brought up, there was a great deal of concern expressed, and they referred it to the Legislative Committee to really look at it in depth and make a recommendation back to the full agency, which they're going to take up on this Thursday. The Legislative Committee's recommendation was to draft a letter asking the legislative delegation of Hillsborough County to oppose the bill. It's a local bill, so it would have to be passed out by our local legislative delegation in order to be heard in Tallahassee.
Well, that's great. Well, and so for those of you who are in the audience, the delegation meets on November the 20th in the morning. It starts at 9:30. Members of the public can speak, and I would encourage you to let our delegation members know how you feel about this. They need to know. You know, with all the unsettling times that we have ever since September the 11th, with the budget cuts and the economy that have been so negatively impacted, it's just not the time to make dramatic changes, I don't think, in anything. Tallahassee, I noticed they've made more budget cuts today, and then they're going to come back again and meet, I think, the latter part of November to even make more cuts. And some of those are in the area of the environment. It's time to take a break. Time flies. So if you want to make a phone call, be thinking about what you want to ask us. We're going to take a short break. Thank you for watching.
Are you a homebound senior or disabled adult? Do you live alone? Do you sometimes ask yourself, what if I suddenly became ill or fell? Would anyone even know that I needed help? ElderNet Services, a division of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, can help you. All of our free services help homebound people maintain quality of life and independence with a sense of security. Our telephone reassurance calls provide an opportunity for daily interaction by linking seniors with a friendly, caring person. For those who live alone or have no available support system, these daily calls help reduce isolation and loneliness. 24-hour information and referral is available from the Crisis Center's Hotline Services Division. We also sponsor social activities for our seniors. Our Serve Our Seniors program links teens with senior citizens, providing chore services for seniors and valuable community service credits for teens. Start receiving help from ElderNet Services today by calling 813-964-1577.
3, 2, 1.
Well, we're back, and this is the last segment of our show. And again, if you want to call in, please do. This is a live call-in show. Are there any other implications to the bill that you might like to mention?
Yes, if you don't mind. The entities that can apply for funding to do good projects in Hillsborough County now are civic organizations, nonprofit corporations, as well as other governments or any group. It's not limited at this point. The bill would limit it to exclude all nonprofit corporations and charitable entities from applying to do a project. Now, the projects we do are in-ground restoration projects, largely some minimal educational projects, but a large percentage of the funding does go to groups that have applied that are nonprofit corporations.
What are some of the groups and what are some of the projects that that they've applied that have applied, and would you like to?
That also would be eliminated. It would be a group like, for instance, Tampa Bay Watch, or Hillsborough Community College, in working with the Southwest Florida Water Management District in planting seagrasses in the Alphi River. You know, after we had the mulberry phosphate acid spill, the seagrass and fish populations were decimated. We have a number of programs that are going to replace the seagrasses in the Alphi River. Now, those are civic organizations and other entities that would not be able to be involved at this point if the bill were to pass.
Another would be the Seabug group down in the lower part of the bay. They, in fact, they applied for and just received a positive recommendation from our Citizens Committee to do some manatee protection signing down along the bay shore. That project would be not eligible if the bill passed.
Oh, goodness. Well, and Audubon has, I think, with the Gibsonton Civic Association, they've done some restoration too, haven't they?
Yes.
So they wouldn't be able to do it.
No,
it would only be government that would do restoration then?
Or for-profit corporations.
Or for-profit.
Which makes, doesn't make any sense.
You know, it's interesting that on one hand people talk about public-private partnerships, and then on the other hand they try to shrink it into something else. So I think you all can see that there are a lot of reasons to oppose this bill, and I hope you'll let the delegation know. Suzanne, I see you've got a map of the bay. What are some of the issues that you're faced with?
Well, I wanted to sort of let you know about some good news and bad news about dredging in the bay. The good news is that we've been working on a plan to use dredged material that comes out of maintenance projects for beneficial uses. And when we trying to identify the types of material that are going to be dredged and the timetable and the location, and match those up with restoration projects so that we can use that material instead of putting it in the spoil islands where it won't help anyone. If it can be used in a positive way, then we want to try to do that. The bad news, things that are happening that we want to be very vigilant about. The Corps of Engineers is conducting a study that will take a few years. They're reevaluating all of the federal projects, looking at what was approved, what has been constructed, is it appropriate to maintain those, and so forth. And they're also looking at the future needs of the ports and the shipping industry. The Tampa Bay Harbor Safety Committee and its long-term committee is looking at improving safety and navigation. The Tampa Port and Port Manatee are growing, and the ships are getting larger. We're getting more and more cruise ships, and those ships are getting much larger. And we also have petroleum ships and natural gas ships coming in that require special handling. And so the channels are getting very crowded. And safety is always key, safety for people and safety for the environment. And so they are anxious to have the channels widened, or at least add some passing lanes in parts of the channels to allow the ships to pass each other safely. And there's also part of the core study is looking at possibly connecting the east-west portion of the channel that goes to the Port of Tampa, the old Port of Tampa, down to the St. Petersburg Channel to form sort of a loop channel around the bay so that ships would not have to pass each other going in opposite directions. So we're going to be watching that very carefully, and the Agency on Bay Management has been asked that its members provide information about the biology and the water quality and the circulation of Tampa Bay to go into the study so that they consider all of the environmental aspects as well as the economic aspects of channel improvements.
Well, I'm glad that the Corps of Engineers is asking and getting input before they do what they're going to do, because they've been public enemy number one in many instances. Do you remember the time when they put the dredge material on nesting birds? I thought, oh gosh. But that's the good thing about the Agency on Bay Management, is it gets everyone at the table to talk about proposals so that everyone can sort of thrash out the positives and negatives of those proposals. One of the good things that the Corps did recently was what were they dredging that they put the dredge material on Egmont Key?
St. Pete Harbor.
And it was the Agency on Bay Management that really helped facilitate that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we had all the players there that needed to be talking to each other, and the Egmont Key Alliance was sort of begging for something to do to help those gun batteries and the beaches, and they were at the table with the Corps of Engineers and with DEP that had to give the water quality certification and so forth. And we were able to facilitate that.
Well, Suzanne, as I go across Sunshine Skyway, I notice the ships that appear to be laying that pipeline. That is it, the natural gas line? Have they encountered any problems to date?
I've heard that there are a couple of problems with the drilling muds, that they're directionally drilling from deep water onto the island at Port Manatee, and they've had a little bit of a problem there, but I think that they're being very vigilant and trying to do their very best. They know how sensitive the bay is.
If any of our viewers are interested in the bay, I'd encourage you to attend Agency on Bay Management meetings. They're public meetings, and the various projects that impact the bay are discussed on a regular basis. That pipeline, for instance, was discussed. And again, the value of the agency is that you have all the interested parties sitting around the table talking about the implications and giving input to assure that the environment is not negatively impacted. And on that one, I remember they were making sure that they weren't going to lay that pipe in any seagrass areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that that's been the case, that they
have.
Good.
And not only that, but they've worked around the hard bottom communities that are there and out the mouth of the bay to do their best to avoid those. Been a lot of input, a lot of, we're so blessed with expertise in Tampa Bay area. We have so many researchers and regulators, that are really watching out for the bay, and it's just been nothing but good, meant nothing but good for.
And for those of us who are sitting around this table, we remember the days when we were really put in an adversarial position with the various parties. But I think it's become increasingly evident to everybody that if we work together, we can do what we all want to do. It may mean changing and making accommodating or conditions on projects that are questionable, or saying no to the project altogether. But people, I think, have finally come to the realization that the bay is important to all of us.
I think the pipeline project, the agency and bay management, and the National Estuarine Program are all examples of what you just said, where all these groups are getting together to try to build a consensus and understand what the issues are, what the most valuable things are that need to be protected. So there's much more discussion and cooperation in these days than there used to be like 20, 30 years ago.
You know, and Rick Dukes called about Tampa Bay water and those, you know, with that desal, that's just one project that will possibly impact the bay. You've got siphoning fresh water off the Alafai, siphoning water off of more off the Hillsborough, maybe taking that water from the city's sewage plant and diverting it. And so we're all concerned. It's just not the citizens, everybody around this table and everybody involved. And so those of you who are watching know that we are going to be watching very carefully to make certain that things don't go wrong, because if they do, I think we'll find a way to pull the plug in more ways than one on any and all of those projects. I think we have a call. Hello? Oh, sorry. Rick, what do you foresee as maybe some of the major issues coming up?
Well, one of the probably one of the major issues I see is it's definitely got to be water resources for the future. Not only water supply, as Mr. Dukes was talking about, where do we get a lot of calls all of a sudden.
Oh, wait, just a second. Hello?
North Carolina.
I think he was for North Carolina. I don't know who North Carolina is playing. Hello?
Hello, how are you?
Fine. Did you have a question?
Oh, how old are you?
Well, I'm not going to say that on television. Bye.
So I guess our calls aren't being screened.
I thought these calls were being screened, but I don't think they are. Okay.
Water resource issues, sufficient water supply in the future for us to...
Oh, wait, we've got two more calls. We'll see if this works out better. Hello? Hello?
Hello, is this Jan Platt?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, this is Ada Deeds, and I would like to know if you could recommend a good insurance or HMO.
No, I couldn't really do that. As a public official, I don't really recommend that kind of thing to people.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hello?
Oh, yeah, if the phone calls are being screened, I couldn't say this, you old fart.
Oh,
So much for that.
that was the one. That's the one who wanted to know how old I was.
Yeah.
Hello? Oh,
Well, maybe we
I
shouldn't take
think
any more
I
calls.
think we're gonna take one more. Hello?
Jan Platt,
Yes.
this is Carol Kushmer.
Well, how are you?
Good, and I've enjoyed the conversation. It's been lovely, and I think everything is going great, the pipeline, all of it. There's a lot of things that maybe aren't, but we can't cure them all in one day or one night, can we?
No, but we can try. We can try to work on them.
I know you do, and I appreciate that. And I just don't appreciate people that call and say such vulgar, rotten things to our county commissioners. It embarrasses me for the human race. I just feel that way, and I had to say it.
Well,
And
thanks.
I'll let you go.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Hello?
Perhaps he's going
So
to
much
call.
for phone calls. Well, Rick, you were talking about what the issues were that you thought.
Well, I think I've said enough about water resources. The future of Tampa Bay is really important. Atmospheric deposition is something that's we're going to be looking at in the future to determine what extent what goes up in the air from smokestacks like from Tico comes down in the bay as pollution. And here in Tampa Bay, we are on the forefront of understanding how those things like nitrogen oxides and other pollutants like that can serve as contaminants. We're really fortunate in having researchers working in this area to understand those issues.
Well, and Suzanne, do you see as some of the issues coming up?
Well, I think the dredging is going to be a major factor within a couple of years. The shipping industries want to accelerate the improvements to the channels, and there's going to be a lot of pressure for that. So we're going to have to be on top of it and work with the industry to accommodate needs of safety while protecting our environment.
Commissioner, if I could add
Yes.
to what Dr. Garrity said, he did mention water resources. I think the connection between land use planning and our water resources has to be made. I know that's an issue, a growth management issue, but if we continue to have development without the necessary water supply, we're not going to be able to continue along that way. If we don't have the water, we're not going to be able to have the growth, and we can't make that legal connection at this point, but that's why I think it's going to be legislation that is going to be, that's going to be a hot topic in the year or two to come.
Well, and it's going to be important for us to conserve water. You know, we've got to change the way that we, as individuals, use water, and I think we've been doing some of that with the water restrictions of 1 day a week. But that message still hasn't gotten through to some people, and so I think you're right. The whole issue of water is going to be a major one. We're still limited to local sources first, correct?
Yes, we are.
And,
it's in statute.
So that we have to utilize our sources. So many people would like to run a pipeline up to Weeki Wachee, and the law won't allow us to do it.
No, that's why we're probably going to have more desal.
That's the only thing you can do is just to have a string of desal. That's why it is so important that this first one work and not make any mistakes, because I can tell you if it does, it's going to really cause a lot of things to come to a screeching halt.
People would be amazed at the percentage of the water that comes into their home, what a large percentage it is that goes out on their lawn. I know when I first heard the figure, it's a huge percentage of what you take into your home from the water supply, from the utility company. And we've got to find other sources to irrigate with.
Other ways.
Absolutely. Well, we only have a minute left, and I just want to thank the three of you for coming, and thank you for your dedication to our environment. For the viewers, you can see that we're in good hands. Again, I'd like to encourage you to go to the Ybor Fresh Market, and then this weekend especially will be numerous veterans events to honor those who have fought and served for our country, and I would encourage you to attend one of those events. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, and you'll see Charlie Miranda next week. Thank you.